And welcome back. We're joined now by Amber Fox. She's a speech-language pathologist at Red Door Pediatric Therapy in Bismarck.
Today we're talking about pacifiers, sippy cups, and other oral habits. Good morning, Amber. I certainly can speak to this because I had children that were all over the place. One had a pacifier until, you know, he could find it and practically go into the store and buy it himself.
Yeah. The other to the store and buy it. Yeah.
The other one was I had one that was a thumb sucker. I mean, we all have these things that, you know, that go on. So is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it can be a little bit of both. As a speech pathologist, we get quite a few questions about pacifiers. When are they great and when should we start to get rid of them? And when we think of some of the pros, we think about our infants and why do they use pacifiers? And it's to help with that soothing. The research indicates that it can reduce the incidence of our sudden infant death syndrome, and that it also is a chance for them to exercise. We call that a non-nutritive suck, where they get some practice with being able to suck and breathe without those times where they're eating. And so when they continue to use their pacifier, typically past that age of 12 months is when we would start to look at, you know, maybe it's time to start weaning them off. And so
yeah, that's the hard part. You know, like I can remember having pacifiers all over the house because if you lost one, oh my goodness.
Yes, and they sneak them, they hide them, they know where they're at even if mom doesn't.
Right. So what are the negative effects? Say someone is in their 14th, 15th month or whatever, and they still are demanding in their way a pacifier.
Well, there can be a few different things. When our kids have a pacifier, sometimes they have a really, really strong suck, and what that can do is it can actually put some extra pressure on the eustachian tubes, and so they pull them really tight, and then the ears aren't able to drain, and so that persistent pacifier use can also contribute to chronic ear infections. That's
interesting.
Yeah, and then so they're sad and you want to soothe them, so you give them the pacifier, and then so it can be kind of a tricky cycle that we have. For pacifier use that really persists into the toddler years too, is that it can impact their bite. We have kiddos that they sometimes might call it a passy bite or an overbite. It impacts the dentition, and it also impacts their oral experiences. As our kiddos are about 12 months old and we're starting to introduce solid foods, we want their tongue to be able to free and move and to lateralize, so move back and forth.
Lateralize.
Yeah, lateralize back and forth.
Yeah,
and
wag
so
the tongue back and forth.
Yeah, and so when you're eating your solid foods and you're no longer on the bottle, you want to be able to move the food from side to side, and when you have a pacifier in all day long, it kind of limits those movements. It's anchored down, and so we don't get as much of that side to side or even that up and down tip movement that's important for our swallowing and our speech.
If you have something in your mouth too, you're less inclined to want to talk.
Right, or it may, all of the sounds kind of go up through our nose, and so that we don't have some of those opportunities. We also would like to help our kids learn different methods of self-soothing. So during the day, instead of having a pacifier, maybe replacing it with a stuffed animal so that they're able to, you know, still get those comforting moments, but in a different avenue, so that when it's time to start to take away the pacifier, it's an easier transition on both mom and dad and the child.
Does breastfeeding help with any of this? I mean, does it matter at all?
Well, for us, if we have our kiddos, whether they're breastfeeding or bottle feeding, we want to just provide them with some, we call them developmentally appropriate or age appropriate, some of those new milestones. So introducing an open cup when they start to be about 18 months, or even strawed sippy cups. We prefer those a little bit over those really hard cups because they provide some of those new opportunities. And so we have kiddos that do breastfeed, but we just want to also establish some of those new milestones as they're able to transition to kind of those higher level skills for eating.
So what you were just saying, in essence, you don't want them hanging onto a sippy cup for a very long time either. There are other ways you want them drinking out of a cup as soon as you can.
An open mouth cup, and we understand that sippy cups are great because they keep the liquids in the cup.
Exactly. They don't spill.
Right, and so I think even just establishing some rules for some cups, that if you're going to have water, have it in an open mouth cup, and that can be in more areas, but in the kitchen we're going to have juice and milk.
All right, so tell people where they can find you.
We can find us at Red Door Pediatric Therapy. You can find us online at reddoorpediatric.com, or you can always give us a call at 701-222-3175.
Amber Fox from Red Door Pediatric Therapy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll be right back. We're going to finish out the show.